Run like thief. Oh my god. And I have work in a few hours. Yo, seriously. I think lack of sleep is kind of affecting me now. But again, yeah, who says, successful people get 8 good hours? I believe that. I swear to God, like that's what I'm running on. If I'm not losing my mind right now, but more power, you understand me? So that's why I listen to audiobooks.
So true, so true.
Alright, anybody else? I don't want anybody to say it's the objection.
Oh, I know that this whole time when they are talk, it take me until they say something about reflex. I'm say, wait, why do I not see a blinking red light on this thing? And the whole time I just realize that this thing now record. You know what
So,
say?
guys,
I say in life, you just convince you 90% of everybody make up a salt because we just
Ah,
start different
and
style.
that's why, the universe I work with, but nobody just not game of what.
That you want here. You see you? That's a big one.
The universe say, yo, you know what? I'm not feeling time.
Yo, ever since that clipping that we made, ever since that clipping we made where we say, right, me and myself say that I would never cut no video with Bradshaw in it if I say anything because I don't want this man come back to Jamaica come kill me. And all of a sudden now we forget to press record button. Why life sad. But anyways, really Dario.
anyway, I'm just saying the card is available for me or anyone else.
I thought about I'm not even I think nobody will get no card tonight.
So yeah, first topic, kind of based off of a meme, or rather, as a picture that I found. So it's a post by, I think it's a Caucasian lady, Amina, could be Latina, Amina Leila. Women often enter into relationships trying to cook their way, sex their way, submit their way into a man's heart to prove their worth, all to be chosen, and usually chosen by a man who sat back and reaped the benefits of her attraction. Yeah,
Honestly,
make it seem kind of simple still. Um,
mm,
let me read the next paragraph at least. And
I mean,
I dare begin to mention the emotionally heavy
mhm.
lifting that some of us do to love men who aren't capable of loving us back in a healthy way.
Nonsense.
We fight to open him up, soften him up, and his trust be the mother he never had, show him the loyalty he has never received, overlook the red flags because he has potential, be his therapist, settle for a mediocre courtship, settle for
Oh my God,
lackluster
this is so
sex, settle
grotesque.
for selfishness, and hold up,
What
and
is
no
reading?
reciprocity.
Cringy. Hmm?
Diminish ourselves for fear of being
Preach.
labeled as too opinionated, high maintenance, or bougie. We carry the burdens of unhappy relationships, and the shit actually ages us. I wish that woman we collectively choose to be in mutually loving, fulfilling, and healthy relationships that don't begin with drama or heartache. instead with sweetness, love, empathy, and openness. Just some good points, but I mean,
It's covered by bullshit, basically.
I wouldn't go as far as to say bullshit.
It's not complete.
It's not complete. Yeah, it's not complete.
It's not complete. I'm not that, full or my head up my ass enough to not, can spot the gems out of the poop. But yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go again with the first paragraph. So yeah, they cook their way, submit their way, force their way into the relationship, and chose them sat back and benefits of her affection. So you're telling me that you're doing all this for one guy, and if it's only the one guy, let's be honest, but say you're doing this all this for, and he's doing nothing, or you're going 90%, he's going 10%, and he's the problem. It's like she make it sound far too once. So why are you doing it for a man who's not doing anything in return?
I mean,
Or are you choosing to do this for a man who's not doing anything in return?
I mean, isn't that normally how well, let me not even generalize it. Isn't that how most modern women view relationships, that they are the only ones who put in work and the man only puts in like half effort?
Yep.
No. You're scoring too high. Most of them says like 25% the one push. Like they devalue it that far down. No, I know it sounds like a joke, but they've held polls. They've held polls. They've held polls where they compare in the arena, in the relationship, modern relationship, women believe 75% of almost every aspect of the relationship falls on her shoulders. That is so egotistical.
Wait, hold on.
What?
Who said that women believe that they carry the weight of 75% of the relationship?
On
Yes.
what? Hold on what grounds?
Hello, you need to understand something. Logic means nothing to most of these feminists.
Well,
You feel me?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, logic. They
I'm not
don't
knocking
reason
it.
within
I'm
the
just trying to.
realm.
Hey, you hear what I'm
Because more wants
It's
to
that they believe.
want to hear the logic.
They believe that it doesn't mean it doesn't mean say it is true, Just that they believe it. Unless there is fact or some sensible logic behind of it, I will not believe that.
And I find it weird though. Right? People will jump up and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe he will say that." But then, in the same breath, you're the same one that's saying you don't understand men. And I keep trying to explain this to most women. Men are very straightforward. Like, I don't know where the disconnect happened, but men are very straightforward. Let me give you an example. I met a girl, right, who had a friend who was interested in a friend of ours from high school. When they just met for the first time up by Limelight, the girl asked him, does he have a girlfriend? He says no. And at the moment, he isn't looking at a relationship. That part skipped over her head. And she was so infatuated by this man's charm. Boy looked at me and said, did she not hear what I just said? And I said, yes, but here's the problem with that. It goes through her feelings, where it would be as simple, logical. Okay, he doesn't want a relationship. This is how she interpreted it. He doesn't want a relationship
No.
yet.
Same thing.
Or no. So hold on. He doesn't want a relationship until you have convinced him to be in one.
Yes. Yes, that's also a good one. And then this girl literally wastes 2 years of her life. 2 years. And I sat there and watched dude do her all the dirtiness him could ever do her. She wouldn't leave. And I'm like, okay, we're talking about a guy who didn't care. He was being sloppy on purpose with how he was behaving, and she wouldn't let go. Somebody explain that to me, because I find it weird that a man like that would be called misogynistic, but that he told her from day one where his headspace is. Who's in the wrong right there? Someone, I mean, tell me if we sound like them, I make sense. Who would be in the wrong? He told you from day on he's not interested that way. But you tell yourself you can change him.
Exactly. He's gonna say,
And
"Oh, I can change him, so let's try."
Aren't
So
they
hold
the
on now.
same species who goes on about they'll never change for no man? Yet they have the audacity to want to change a man from his nature. All comes full circle now. But now I understand what Bradshaw was talking about, trying to change a man's nature. It all makes sense.
Men are very straightforward creatures. And I try to explain that to my own wife. And don't believe it or not, yeah? No matter how good your wife is, and ladies, I'm going to be honest with you, don't take this personal, because I know someone might, but if you want it to work, you'll have to put your feelings aside. And I know that's so hard for anybody across the world to digest, especially if you're feminine. Men understand this. This is why, and I'll say this, and I know it sounds very harsh, but this is why a man will leave a pretty girl and be with a girl that's not so pretty, but she understands him. It's not, he hates the pretty girl. Clearly he doesn't, but she won't, she doesn't understand him. The other girl knows that she is not that pretty, so she knows she has to absorb this information. A lot of women these days believe that their looks can suffice, and it doesn't really, unfortunately. Most guys who have themselves put together, who want something out of life, normally wants more than just a pretty face. And because I had to illustrate, I watched this video, I think on was it like Love and Hip Hop, or I forgot what one of them showed it. You know, the girl was like, she's like, I have a great ass, I have a great chest, I have, you know, and it's like, but he still keeps leaving.
But
Because
what substance does she bring to the relationship other than sex, big body and big breasts, and
and she
fear?
dresses high, and she says she still don't know why people leave home and go and talk to.
Hold on, who's watching TV?
Whose television is it?
What's Rajiv? What's Rajiv? What's Rajiv?
Yeah. Okay then.
We apologize for that horrible disturbance. That voice was extremely nauseating. Where were we?
Yeah,
So
she said she looks good, so he should
yeah.
he should love her.
Oh yeah, now I remember what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the typical Jamaican girl, if you ask me.
Typical what?
Sounds like a typical Jamaican girl, if you ask me. Or rather, typical modernized Jamaican woman.
I wouldn't say typical, but it's like you're feeding into the man's lust and believe that that's his love.
No, but think about it. Like, all right, you have a couple women here who have their head on their shoulders, but they are still not to the level where you would expect them to be, but they can get there. There is hope for them. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you have those who believe say their face alone is going to keep the man. Yeah.
Or body. Well, I've probably used this example more than a half dozen times since we started the podcast, but I will forever go back to it. When Tyrese came on the and he used the example of his ex-girlfriend who was in a relationship with a few relationships ago. He was going through a really dark time in his life. And he said if he was on a deserted island and he could only bring one person or thing, it would never be her. And it wasn't even to tear her down. It was just because, like, she's as in she cute. Big breast, big ass, small waist, whatever. Pretty face, but like that's it. And as in I have to blame him as well because that's what he wanted.
Exactly.
He didn't get someone substance.
As I always say,
when he needed substance, when he was going through some, that's when he realized all he had was looks.
As I always say, it takes two to make a relationship work, and no matter who was wrong in the end of what caused it to end, it's two persons to a relationship. That's why I don't get how people can go on their high horse and talk about, oh, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yes, you did. Like, it's a choice.
You might not have done something blatantly obvious, but there was a time something that rubbed the person the wrong way. Maybe the way you spoke to them, maybe the way you act around them at times. It's a lot of shit that people don't recognize that turns people off in relationships. I think that's the biggest problem with humans overall.
I think the problem is people don't read people anymore. I mean, it used to be that when you're getting to know someone, you would pay keen attention to what they say, their body movement, and certain words are brought up, certain conversations are being held, their stance on certain issues. People used to pay attention to the people that they interacted with. Why? Because, you know, when it comes to actually working with someone, you need to know exactly who you're getting involved with. And also helps to adjust easier because you understand the rhythm or their pace, you know. I find it weird that nowadays, just the idea of suggesting, you know, working at someone else's pace, somehow that is an insult for some people. I don't know why. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a partnership. It is. It is.
You know what I mean? Like, if the person wants to move things slowly or so.
Maybe.
I don't think
like a 5-day rule kind of thing.
I don't even think that's the only thing he's alluding to. I think it's most things in general. Like, yeah, in the relationship, I mean, that's a choice. But like your approach to life, approach to problems. So, all right, say for example, you're someone who always rushes into things without thinking. Like, you have to have someone who can say, yo, like, take a step back and recognize, say, you can't do it like that all the time. But people are just, I don't know if it's just me, but the more years that have gone by, people have become so much more arrogant. Like, I'm not saying there's something wrong with being arrogant sometimes, but it's dependent on what you're arrogant about. And the fact that you believe some of the things you say and you think it's right, and when you're
delusional,
told it's not, when you're told it's not, and your first action is to attack the person personally. Like what them do with Kwame Brown. Although I'm not get into that on this because fuck Charlemagne the God. I finally understand why Pacha doesn't like him. But
Charlemagne a shit. Man, shit. And all of them come off a family burn and shit. That's why man put all of them on blast. That's why all of
Not
them are
going
looking at
down the rabbit hole.
nah, we doing that rabbit hole, sir. In a year. And you mute again.
Actually, you know, it upset me here, but I allow it go. I let it
Yes,
go.
we are going to load it
Move
because
on.
that's not what we do this podcast for. We're not talking about
True,
basketball.
true.
Anyway, but yeah, like to reply to the first paragraph of based on what she wrote. I'm assuming it's based off of her experiences or what she's observed. I hope I'm not misjudging, but it just kind of seems like she sets her bar
Too high.
low. No, well, probably too low, or she has low self-esteem. Where how she describes it is like she's perfect going after a deadbeat to try and bring him up. Like she's a working class person and she goes after like a man who just sits on the corner. And she's trying to love her way, sex her way, force her way into his life. I'm not maybe she's exaggerating and she's ignoring what he's doing, or maybe she's has low standards. I don't know.
I mean,
Just put the mirror the things.
I mean, to each
Maybe
their
it's all
own,
of the above.
I guess.
And wow, one thing to this, I'm saying like friend zone conversation about a later podcast. No, like I've really looked into it, and one theory I've come up with is like the friend zone is actually a safe zone for decent men. Because that you're a decent man. Why would you want to do more? And vice versa. If he can't realize that you're a decent woman and he's out here with tax and gold diggers and complaining, why would you want to do someone like that?
I mean, well,
I'm preaching anyway.
I mean, I've always said that if best friends wanted to be with each other, they would have, but they know why they don't. And don't look at me like that, Dario. I'm not implying anything.
I'm looking at the camera, sir. Go away.
Anyways.
No, I was not thinking that, sir. I was not thinking. I really was not thinking that. Calm down, sir. Calm down.
But I've always figured that the friend zone wasn't just like this mythical box that men and women create to trap themselves because they don't think they're worthy enough. The minute you think that, yes, you're going to become unworthy. And I know it sounds very strange, but take it from someone who forced themselves into a friend zone on purpose. Because, bruh, trust me, people think the friend zone is the worst thing. Trust me, it's something that saves you.
Trust me, it's a good thing. It can be a safe haven if you have enough sense.
That's not about can be. The people who complain about being in the friend zone are people who know.
All right, this is the second part.
Oh, continue.
Yeah, like, based on what she's saying, is like is almost like she purposely going after guys that just don't try. Maybe she has low self-esteem. Is internally just attracted
she had experience with or attempted to woo a high value man and failed miserably, and now she has to reset the check-in board and do all of this stuff. who knows, maybe live again or something. Who knows?
We'd have to get to know her to kind of properly decide why where she's coming from with this. Next paragraph. And I dare begin to mention the emotional heavy lifting that some of us do to love men who aren't capable of loving us back in a healthy way.
That's a bit subjective, don't you think?
All right, so this is one is also kind of tricky because as men, we're not the best at expressing ourselves emotionally. Most of us, and yeah, we're pretty logical. So,
But
don't you feel it?
all right, I have a question to what she said. Okay, men are not good at expressing themselves. Why? Could it be that society deemed it that they shouldn't be complete sissies? Or is it that they're tired of women telling them to man up every time they try to express themselves? You can't want the best of both worlds and not understand that, hey, despite the fact that we call out women for a lot of things, you people are the reason why a lot of men are the way they are. You have some that are genuinely just beyond help.
It leads a lot of questions. I mean, is it safe for a man to be emotional around her? As in, if I'm emotional right now, but when we're cool and like one hour later arguing, you're gonna call me a little bitch because I was emotional. Why would I be vulnerable?
You guys together and then decide, and the man can be emotional around her, and then you're not supposed to do with that. Secondly, if there's somebody that may be emotional around them, and then when we get in an argument, I bring it up and calm and say, fuck you, and let you. What may I do with you? You're not serve my first person in my life. May I do with you? Bye. We'll find somebody we can be emotions and emotionally stable for you. Deal with me, but I'm not gonna stay with you. You get me?
And the TV is loud. But anywho,
The thing though,
I will say this, right? On this of the conversation, right? Women don't understand that if you really if you dare to ask a guy like, why don't we honestly like to be open with anyone or women in particular? Because men are quite comfortable opening up to other men. Real talk. You can ask any guy. Men are comfortable because we all understand the shortcomings of being a man, both the goods and the bads. So, and we can relate. Women can't relate. That's the problem. And I'm not saying that we're saying that, oh, you'll never understand us. You will, but you don't understand to the degree that a man will understand.